Mike, you alluded to something earlier about the economy. It seems like we keep hearing forecasts from economists. Well, we're hoping here, we're hoping at this quarter, maybe by the end of this quarter or the end of this year. There's that uncertainty, what's going to change and when's it going to change. And talking with my cousin, he was saying this. He had to learn feast and famine. There is no such thing because there's only planning. When you put in the planning and you're budgeted, then you're budgeted for emergencies, you're budgeted for downtime, you're budgeted for down economies. Maybe not 3 years in running, but you're budgeted better, and you also understand with all the other tools in place that you're better equipped and in a better position. Expand on that for us and why it's so important, because this is really part of the essence as well of Partners in Business.
Yeah, it really is. The budgeting piece is obviously huge. As I touched on earlier, every owner-operator should know their fixed costs per day. They should know their variable costs per mile. But what we've seen is, those that entered into the marketplace during, call it the feast, didn't have that plan. They came in with expensive equipment and high expectations, and when the market shifted, they weren't able to survive.
Right.
Those that were in it and have been through up and down cycles do have that plan. They have their maintenance savings. They have their home budget in line. They've got all the tools and all the things in place. And what we've seen with our clients, not only those on their own authority, but those that remain in the marketplace today, they've adjusted and pivoted, and they started looking at nickels and dimes and making sure that those stay in their pocket.
Yeah.
And again, the market still continued downward in 2024 in terms of rates, but our drivers actually made more money than the year prior.
Right.
So they made those changes. They said, hey, I'm going to slow it down and get a mile per gallon better. I'm going to take that extra load because I've hit my fixed costs, and my profit goes from 65 cents a mile to $1.20 a mile because all I'm paying is variable costs.
Right.
And so they think about that contribution margin. They think about that break even. They take that extra load. They do a little bit more. And when they sustain that and we come out of the down market, they're going to be in the best shape of their careers.
Sure. Todd, you've covered this for a long time in the industry. I mean, again, we've seen our ups and downs. I mean, it's going back to about this time in 2009. And then prior to that, we as a nation go through recessions occasionally. As an industry, it's a lot tougher when it's happening and it seems like you're not getting above water. But this is why it's crucial in the planning. This might be called the off-season or rebuilding season, maybe for trucking. And as long as we're in that mode, it really is about that planning. If you're not in that planning mode, and also taking the lessons from where we've been for a little too long, those lessons have to be implemented as practice and better process going forward, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard thing to do because what do you learn from something like what we've seen here, where you're 3 years into, things seem to be getting not really quickly worse, but there was the big fuel spike right after Russia invaded Ukraine, and then everybody was like, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
No, I can't take that load I booked for next week because that rate is not going to work.
Right.
Aside from that quick shock, and that threw a lot of turmoil in the market, but it's been this really slow, falling down. And, I think it's just really hard to know what the lessons are there other than learn from the things that you've done that are making you successful. Things that, there's a lot of examples out there of the things that Mike was just talking about, like equipment today. You can wring fuel mileage out of a lot of this late model equipment pretty well. There's countless examples of guys that are up at 10 miles per gallon.
Yeah.
Wow. With anything from a 2016 model year truck up to now, doing various things. Like our truck of the year this year, Alan Kitzhaber is a great man. He's in the room with us. I don't mean to embarrass him, but he's not driving one of those trucks. He's in a 1995 Kenworth T600, but he's doing single drive axle 6x2 kind of configuration, I believe, and he's got super singles, aerodynamic fairings on the drive wheels, a variety of other fuel efficiency enhancing modifications and equipment on there. And, it's a 1995 and it's got a Caterpillar engine in it, and he's getting close to 7 miles per gallon. Am I right there, Alan?
Yeah.
I think I'm right.
Wow.
Anyway, so like, things like that, and he's done this in response to past fuel shocks.
Right.
And steady as she goes with the customer that he's got, their business has been up and down. He's just kind of rolled with it. He's very profitable. Essentially, his expenses are about 50% of the revenue he's bringing in.
Right.
He's doing very well. And, he's been in that truck for 4.1 million miles, and he's going to retire Monday. He came out of this downturn extremely profitable, and that's a result of him slowly over all that time learning from the successes that he's had and the mistakes that he's made as well. You pivot you do what you have to do to increase your efficiency, lower the cost that you have, and search for that extra revenue, whether it's that extra load or a new customer or a better rate. I mean, it comes down to that, and it's, in terms of planning for it though, it is, I really feel like, a lot of it is just kind of doing those proactive things that are going to increase your efficiency.
Sure.
And moving forward. Yeah.